Hey friends, Michael Kingswood here, and this is the deep dive number 4. And yeah, as you noticed, I took that intro out since it was the wrong one, and I haven't gotten around to getting a new one done yet because busy. Yeah, that's how it is. So hey, here it is. It's Tuesday, and it's 1400 Pacific time, and it's already been a long day for me. My new schedule has been rather. Let me use active language like a writer. I've been executing my new schedule diligently so far this week. I got out to the driving range, spoken the roads of San Diego. Uh, I left the house at about 3:45 this morning, and it was like, oh, this sucks. I hate getting up early. At the same time, though, I had most of my vig for the day done before 10, and so I was like, man, that's great. So we stopped, took the dog to the dog park, had some lunch, and been working on some business here at the house the last couple hours. And going to be obviously talking to you guys here now. And I'll get some writing done as soon as we're done with this little recording for a story Saturday. And then I gotta go get a freaking stupid COVID test. So on Friday, this coming Friday up in Hollywood is the Writers of the Future Awards Gala, which I always attend because I always uh, uh, I submit to this contest every quarter. It's the biggest writing contest in science fiction. It was just initially started back in the 82, I want to say 84, I think maybe it's 84, by L. Ron Hubbard, who is infamous now for Scientology. But what a lot of people don't know about him is he wrote science fiction for decades, like lots of short fiction and novels and other stuff. And in the early 80s there, he started this trust fund from all the money he'd made from writing and from his Scientology stuff, um, to assist new writers. And basically, if you haven't met certain publishing wickets, you can, which are all traditional, New York publishing wickets. So you can submit to this contest, and there's good money to be made for winning it, and you get publication in their anthology and a lot of press to shine the light on you. So it's a very valuable thing. A whole lot of people have over the years started their careers through Writers of the Future. I have started my thing in parallel with Writers of the Future because I started when indie began and started writing. Put my first works out in mid 2011. Um, first novel out in late 2011. In I guess in parallel, when the indie was still a pretty new thing. Um, Clearly, I have not been as vigilant about production and marketing as I maybe could or should have been. Uh, Otherwise, I'd be making the big money now. But I was in the Navy. I had 4 kids. And there's other things on reasons, and I'm inherently lazy. So I'm still pretty much nobody in the indie world. I have had some things professionally published, but despite how many things I have indie published, none of that counts for Writers of the Future unless you've sold more than 5,000 copies or something like that, which none of my titles has sold that much stuff. I have had some who have, you know, 3 and 4 figure sales, but nothing that far yet. So I'm still fully qualified despite having multiple works out. So I keep submitting every quarter. And I've been going to these awards things for, sheesh. First one I went to, I think, was in 2013. Like almost pretty much, if I haven't been on deployment, or some weird chicanery came up, I've attended these galas for 10 years or more. So I'm going to go to this one. Last year they were last year's one was delayed, or the year before one of them during the COVID fiasco. They delayed one of them. So there was, it was last year's one was delayed until last fall, and then this one is happening this week. And of course, they require to get a test or COVID before you go. which normally I would say, no, go screw yourself. I don't care about that, but I care about Writers of the Future. So once I hang up from this, I'm going to go down the street to get the stupid test done, and it'll come back native. But that'll be happy for them, and it's only because I value Writers of the Future so much that I'm going to even bother jumping through that hoop. But it is what it is. The and it makes people feel good. Yeah, everybody is certain that they're safe, so won't get a cold. Anyway, it is what it is. So I'm going to go do that after I sign off from this, as I'll have that and be all squared away, and that's going on later this week. So Friday's gonna be interesting. What I did for the Rise of the Future thing this past fall was I drove Uber all the way up and drove Uber all the way down after the event. Made a fair amount of money. So I was like, man, instead of spending money to go do this thing, I'm making money. It was great. So I'm gonna do the same thing this Friday. Anywho, that's got nothing. I lost my initial train of thought. So the title of this stream is Poker Woes, because yesterday, as I was on this stream, I was talking about how, hey, I've gone and played poker a whole bunch of times in this last year and last 3 month and a half, and have gotten everybody feeling good. Everybody's back to normal playing poker here in San Diego, and I've been winning money. I won $200 one time, $450 another time, $130 another time, and 8 hours total or something, 8 or 10 hours. And it's like, I made $100 in like that much time. I should play more poker. So I went back again last night, and it was always a fun time. It was a wild table last night. Had one of those dudes. There's a stereotype in poker world where the Asian guy is this wild better, and he's gonna bet no matter what, and hoo-yah, and stereotypes exist because they're true, but they're not true for everybody, right? So, but this one dude last night, he was that guy. He was the funniest dude ever. He's talking. He'd cash in $100, and the next hand is like all in $100, and he's like, he'd lose, and like, I'll go home, make babies, so I can play. This is the funniest thing ever. So a whole lot of money is flying around this table, and when people are being loose, especially loose like that dude, you're generally supposed to loosen up in how you play the game and bet hands you wouldn't normally bet per se, right? But I was getting hands continually that were like 10-2, Jack 3, just stuff that's garbage. That no matter how loose you're playing, it's like, yeah, let me bet this thing that's never going to win. And of course, if every time I folded, flop comes, like, yep, I would have lost that. Yep, I would have lost that. I got in some hands, lost a few, won a few, and by about 2 hours in, I was about $3 up from my $300 buy-in. And meanwhile, some of these other dudes who had bet this guy, this wild dude, this one guy had made a bunch of money. This one dude ended up winning like over $1,000 on one hand, because he had pocket tens, and 10 came on the flop, and these other loose guys who weren't super loose, but loose enough, bet into him, and then he ended up going all in for 360 some bucks, and two other guys went called him, and he had a set, and these other guys had one guy he had a straight draw that lost on the river because they went all in on the turn. Had a straight draw that lost on the river, and the other dude was this wild guy who was betting all the time. Who he lost anyway. He lost every hand he bet wildly on. I think he was just there just to have fun. He roamed around the tables a bit and just shouting, "Go home, make babies" to everybody. It's funny. So that was interesting to see. And this other guy at the table, there's a streak he was on where he, like 4 or 5 hands in a row, he hit in straight draws every single time. Got shot straight draws. I was like, holy cow. This one hand, I had King Jack, and I was like, fine, I'm going in with this one, and bet in. And flop came with a Jack and some low cards. And I was like, aha. And the only other person in it besides me is him. So I'm betting, and he's betting, and he's calling. And then by the time the turn comes, there's a straight draw in there. I'm like, son of a gun. And I bet in. The river comes, and it's making the straight draw better. And he's sitting there thinking for a long time, is he going to bet me or not? Is he going to be or not? I'm like, on the board was like 5, 6, 7, 9. So if he had an 8, he would have made it straight, right? And I'm thinking, like, there's no way this guy made it straight again. But what if he did? Right? And he'd made them so many times, I'm starting to think, oh, geez, I don't know. And eventually, after tanking forever, this dude just checks, and I was like, all right, screw it. I check behind, throw my King Jack, and he's like, all right, you won. And I got the pot. And it was good, but it was also like, son of a bitch, Well, in reality, if I had bet, he would have just folded, right? So I got as much value out of it as I could have. So it comes to the hand that crushed me, though. This is the poker woes. So there I am. It's getting later, and I'm getting tired. I'm like, all right, about time to start thinking about packing it in. And I get 2, 3 diamonds in my hand. Normally not something I really was going to go with, but I want to say I was I was on the button, and somebody raised it to like $13, and I was like, what the hell? Suited connectors, let's go. Right. And so I called, and ended up being just me and like 2 other dudes. And the flop comes out, and it's all diamonds. There's something in the ace, and something in the ace. And I'm like, I just made a flush, sweet. And this one dude bets $5, and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I've got the flush, yeah. Let's see if we can milk this guy for money. So I just called. Everybody else folds. So it's me and this other dude. Turn comes, and it's the 4 of diamonds. So now I have ace, 2, 3, 4 of diamonds. I'm like, I've got the flush, and I've got the straight flush draw. I'm thinking about this, and I didn't really pay attention to what he was doing. He bet $5, and for some reason it lost me that I was on the button. So I just threw down 10, intending to be the lead off bet, because for whatever reason, a lot of times when I have good hands, I have to end up being the leadoff dude just for whatever reason. I tend to get good hands out of position. It's kind of a weird thing. But okay. So I totally lost that this dude bet anyway. So he bet in 5. I ended up raising him 10 without realizing that I didn't. And he's sitting there tanking for a long time. He raises it to 45. So now there's 4 diamonds on the table. And he's raising to 45 as though he's got another diamond in his hand. But I'm thinking, he's trying to scare me off or something. But I was also thinking, well, I've got the straight flush draw, right? If a 5 of diamond comes, I'm money, baby. So I'm like, all right, I call this 45, easy. Wasn't, had to think about it for a few seconds, but I called it because there's so much equity there. You kind of have to call. And what shows up on the river? It's a 5, but it's a 5 of clubs. So I'm like, damn it, I made the straight, but I already have the flush, and the flush is higher than the straight. Well, son of a bitch. And the dude who's against me is tanks for a long time, and he goes all in. And he's got like $500 behind him. I'm sitting on 300. I'm like, son of a bitch. Damn it. So I'm thinking for a long time. I generally don't go in the tank that long. If I kind of know if I'm gonna call or not. I generally think I have a feel for things, and since I tend to win more than I lose, I mean, everybody loses at poker sometimes, but historically looking back on it, I've tended to come out of sessions winning more often than I come out losing. I think if I haven't kept off track, but that's haven't kept formal track, but that's how it tends to work out. Anyway, um, so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking back over it, and he's like, okay, he took my raise on the turn as something. Maybe he was trying to scare me off, but I'm thinking, dude, if he's got a diamond, I only have 2-3. But I'm sitting, and yeah, any other diamond is going to beat me, right? But I'm thinking, and I'm like, I convinced myself that he was trying to scare me away. That he was bluffing. Although in retrospect, I've watched this dude play for an hour and a half, and he generally didn't. If he bet, he generally had it. But I just convinced myself that nah, he's trying to fool me. And part of it was I was tired, and part of it was also that I was, in retrospect, I'm annoyed at myself for how I played the flop, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But after a while, I was like, dude, just muck it, just show that you missed the straight draw, muck it face up, show you missed the straight draw, and go on. But I was like, but the other part of my head is like, no, he's trying to bluff you. And I am looking back over poker times. I can think of a number of times where I am certain, in retrospect, that dudes bluffed me, and I allowed myself to get bluffed, and kind of all that ran through my head at the same time. And I was like, and this is money that I don't need. I mean, I don't want to lose it, but I'm going to make all my bills if I lose it. So it's not like I'm betting with stuff that I can't afford with. So, and I'm kind of thinking, hey, man, you got to call out the bluff sometimes. All this is going through my head, and eventually I just said, screw it, threw in my bucks, threw it down, threw them out of my cards, and sure enough, he had a king of diamonds. So I lost all the money I had. Because him going all in put me all in. So I was like, all right, well, that closed my session out. I probably wasn't going to stay much longer anyway. But so instead of being $850 over from the last month, I'm now only $550 in the black for the last month. So that was annoying, but not devastating, right? In retrospect, I screwed this one up because when the dude bet, what I should have done is when the guy with that week of flush, when the guy bet $5 on the river, I should have just raised him to like 15 or 20, and everybody would have folded. I would have taken a small pot and moved on. But I tried to slow play it, and I tried to be, I guess, a little greedy about it, and it ended up biting me. And then on the river, I didn't go with my gut. I didn't go with my read on the fact that this dude generally has it. And if he generally and folded, I should have just folded right then. I should have raised the flop and taken the small pot and moved on to the next hand, or just left because it was getting late. But yeah, it is what it is. Live and learn. And everybody has these kind of hands in poker. The guy who I had won with King Jacks earlier, he looked up. He's like, "Oh, he hero called." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I did. Nah, I should have. Nah, it is what it is." So that was my poker night. It was amusing. It's always fun and learn something, but it was less than optimal in terms of cash flow. But that is what it is. And holy cow, I've already talked for almost 20 minutes. Poker is a fun thing about poker. I talk to people about this in the car all the time, and there's several casinos in the San Diego area. Every time I'm driving, somebody wants, "Hey, what's your game?" And everybody's always talking slots, and I cringe. Or some people like blackjack. It's like, I like blackjack. I've played blackjack before. I know a guy who won a lot of money at blackjack. And I used to play blackjack a lot. Actually, I think I won more in blackjack than I lost. My best time in blackjack ever. I went in with 150 bucks. This is at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut. Um, Went in there with 150 bucks. 2 hours later, I walked out with 700, and I was like, "Yeah, baby!" Um, just because it hits my. But once I learned poker and started playing poker, I've tried to go back to blackjack and other things, and it's just nowhere near as interesting because there are systems of blackjack, and if you want to count cards, you can stack the odds in your favor, kind of. If you really count cards, especially with a team, you can really stack it. But in the end, that's a lot of luck and just random chance involved. Whereas poker, if you're a good player and good read on other people, you can win no matter what your hand is. Now, I'm not to that level, clearly, but um, I am pretty decent. Uh, Last night, notwithstanding the, and it's a whole lot more fun playing with and against the other players than it is trying to take on the house. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. Anyway, what does this have to do with writing? Not a lot, except that to do well in poker, you have to be able to read people well, and you get reading people well as part of how you do characters well. So that's good. One of my writing mentors made his living. Well, at certain times in his life, he's made his living playing poker, and has written some books about poker. And actually, part of the reason I started playing poker is because of reading one of his books while I was on deployment. And I was like, man, that sounds so fun. And we were pulling into the Philippines, and there's a casino in Cebu where we pulled in, and the blinds there were 10 and 20 pesos, and at the time their exchange rate was 50 pesos for dollars. So it was like, holy smokes, I can play for not much money. And so yeah, every time we pulled into port there, I'd go to the casino and play and taught myself and gotten some online stuff. And that was sort of how I got a start on it. And I just started to like it and play it more and more every time. Not every time. I go to Vegas a lot because I have a couple of friends who live there and do writing workshops up there. And these I did and when things were still happening up there, and they're starting to start up again. And when I go up there, the first several times I went up there, half a dozen times or so, I would go down the strip and play poker there or go play on one of the outer casinos. The last couple times I've gone up, I haven't, just because I've been hanging out with friends more. And last couple times I went up there, money was a little more tight, so I didn't feel like I had the flexibility to play. But I do enjoy playing when I'm up there. And there's card rooms here in San Diego, obviously, that are good to play in too. So as we move forward here out of the insanity the last year and a half, and the fear porn and there's some legit stuff to it, but I mean, it's not anyway. Neither here nor there. As we move out of that and everything's going back to rational behavior again, we're I'm going to get back into that more. And so I'll have more reports about poker time here going forward on the deep dive. I think I've talked enough for one day. We'll come back tomorrow, 1400 Pacific, and we'll talk some more about whatever else has happened. I doubt I will play poker tonight. Just, who the hell knows? Maybe I will, just to show the poker, the non-existent poker gods that I'm not to be beaten down. I don't know. We'll see. But I think the kids are going to be coming back sometime this afternoon, so I may not, for other reasons, do that. But I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to go get go down and get the COVID test done so that everybody's happy at Right Is the Future and nobody's scared of me, and so they'll let me in. And I'll talk to you. We'll be good. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, go to michaelkingswood.com/store. You can buy all my books in whatever format you want. You can also go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all the other places if you want. Better to come straight to me because more profit for me because you don't go through the middleman. Processing fee is the only fee if you buy straight from my store or my company's store. Really, I need to make a designation on differentiation on. Hey, I write good. I know English good. Need to make a differentiation for that because there is a difference between the company and me. But so the SSN storytelling store is we can get all the stuff and come straight to the writer that you like without having to pay the middleman, and that's the best thing ever. You can also go to michaelkingswood.com, the website, sign up for the mailing list. You can also become a member of the site. A few bucks a month helps keep the lights on and keep the stream and the podcast and the other writing stuff I do going at a more efficient rate. And then, of course, if you're like these streams and like my YouTube channel and my podcast and my Rumble channel and my Odyssey channel and all the other channels I got, subscribe there, hit the notification bell so you know what's coming on next, and talk to each other the next time. In the meantime, make sure you're checking back the previous streams, all the stories from the Great Challenge I've read so far, and put on your calendar for Story Saturday, where the next story is coming up. And I think I told you this yesterday, but I'm going to tell you it again. This next story is Story 10 from Stories from the Great Challenge, Kicking the Anthill, which received which was a semifinalist from the Writers of the Future contest, what I talked about earlier, sometime middle of last year. Right, I'm out. Thanks for streaming in, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Love you a long time. See you.